First, you must concentrate on the correct divine knowledge through which you must get a clear-cut picture of the whole procedure. You must know that you are not already God. Contrary to the thinking of the Advaitins, God is not the ancestral property that is already given to you without any effort from your side. You must know that practical service and sacrifice done to God alone can yield any divine fruit. Correct spiritual knowledge is like water, and theoretical devotion is like fertilizer. Service and sacrifice are like the plant. The plant alone bears the fruit and not the water and fertilizer by themselves. So knowledge and devotion are essential, but service and sacrifice alone bear the fruit. The service and sacrifice must be selfless, and they constitute the practical part of the spiritual effort. This practical part includes the sacrifice of work, which is service, and the sacrifice of the fruit of one's work, which is the donation of money. You will be selected as a servant by God, provided your service and sacrifice are completely free of the aspiration for any fruit in return, including the above fruit of becoming a human incarnation of God. With this, you have entered the inner circle of God, and it is the first step called as Dvaita. People often misunderstand that Dvaita is the relationship between God and an ordinary human being. This general relationship is only the creator-created relationship. In the Dvaita philosophy, Madhva says that the relationship between God and the soul is the master-servant relationship. Madhva kept himself in the position of the servant of God. Becoming a servant of God is not an ordinary achievement. Everyone cannot claim to be in the position of Madhva. A person has to reach the state of a servant of God through considerable spiritual effort, as explained above. This spiritual effort includes the 3 steps of gaining correct spiritual knowledge, developing theoretical devotion, and doing practical service and sacrifice. But if you see Hanuman, he directly jumped from the step of knowledge to the step of service without expressing devotion, which is the intermediate step. As per the Valmiki Ramayana, he never expressed his love for God through songs or by shedding tears for God. Some plants yield fruits when merely supplied with water, even when no fertilizer is supplied. Therefore, sometimes knowledge and service alone are sufficient, without the intermediate theoretical devotion. This is because the soil itself contains hidden fertilizer. The theoretical devotion of Hanuman was kept hidden in his mind. Hence, the intermediate state must exist, but it can remain hidden, as in the case of Hanuman. Now, one of the closest servants of God excels over other servants in his service and sacrifice. He becomes the Son of God and sits on the right side of God, as told by Jesus. Ramanuja also says that one of the most fortunate devotees sits on the lap of Lord Narayana and speaks with him. This exactly coincides with the above statement from the Bible. This is the second stage of Vishishtadvaita. Now that Son of God comes down to earth in a gross body in the usual manner like any other human being. God enters him and pervades all over his soul and body. With that, the Son of God becomes the human incarnation of God. He is treated as God by the devotees who listen to the divine knowledge given by him, serve him, and sacrifice to him. This Son of God gets the credit of all the wonderful works done by God, who is hidden in him. This is the third and final state of Advaita. God enters the devotee to make him a human incarnation, stays in the devotee for his lifetime, and exits at the end. The entry of God is mentioned in the Veda, Tadeva anupravishat. The exit of God is mentioned in the Bible when Jesus cried out, "O God, why have you left me?" Jesus told the 3 statements about his identity as a messenger of God, Son of God, and God himself to different devotees at different times. But it should be noted that Jesus remained in all the 3 states simultaneously, because these 3 states are only different angles of the same Jesus. In the third state of Advaita, the other 2 lower states also coexist. The lower state always exists in the higher state, but the reverse is not true. In the human incarnation, which is in the state of Advaita, Vishishtadvaita also exists. The Son of God, who is treated to be God, also simultaneously remains the Son of God. The live wire also remains a wire at all times. Similarly, in the state of Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita also exists. The Son of God was selected from among the closest servants of God. The Son of God thus always remains a servant, even in the state of Vishishtadvaita. So the human incarnation can also refer to himself as the Son of God or the Messenger of God, and these statements are also true. The human incarnation always speaks the truth. The higher states do not always exist in the lower states. Every servant of God is not the Son of God, and hence Vishishtadvaita does not necessarily exist in Dvaita. Similarly, the Son of God is only God when God enters and stays in him to make him a human incarnation. He is not God always. Therefore, Advaita does not necessarily exist in Vishishtadvaita. Adi Shesha was one of the closest servants of God. When he was born as Lakshmana, he became the son of God by his exceptional service. In the next birth, Lakshmana became a human incarnation called Balarama, who is placed among the 10 prominent incarnations of God. In that incarnation, God pervaded all over Balarama. Even God Krishna, who was the most complete human incarnation of God, served Balarama by becoming his younger brother. This proves that God becomes the servant of his servants. Even Jesus served his devotees by washing and kissing their feet.